Oh, you're good.
They look at what created this, why.
Good morning, everyone. We've got a couple of members I think are on their way in, but we do have a quorum. Welcome to the May 21st, 2025 meeting of the Warren County Human Services Committee. We have one item from Veterans Services. Unfortunately, Denise Director wasn't able to be here today. I did have a short conversation with her in her office yesterday, and that item. Oh, I'm sorry. Got to do. Has everyone had a chance to review last month's minutes?
Mhm.
We Mr. Bruno would like to have that to the floor. Do we have a second? Mr. Runyon, all in favor of approval of the minutes from last month's meeting?
All right.
Hey,
We have an opportunity to hear from members of the public, any public comment from members of the public or other supervisors. Hearing none, we'll move on to the agenda. As I said, we'll do Veteran Services first. There's only one request on that. It's for would you like to take us through that? This is very important. It's a large amount. I think it's $7,500. It's for the repair of the vehicle that transports veterans to and from the VA in Albany, but it's also used to transport seniors and members of the public from the North Country, as the previous speaker from Office explained. I can't remember how old the vehicle is, but it's probably put some miles on it, John.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
This vehicle is scheduled for replacement next year. And as requested, we can't really transfer money from a revenue code into to this repair. So if we're going to do this, we're going to have to take it out of contingency. We might want to table this and we can look at other, do you have other, Tammy, did you have another idea?
Well, the other thought is, I didn't know if we still have money in deferred revenues from years that we had prior to the contract that we had with SUNY Adirondack that perhaps could purchase the vehicle.
Correct.
The other question is, if the repairs are done and we get a couple of years out of the vehicle, it probably makes sense to have the repairs done and get a couple of years out of the vehicle with the additional services that OFA is providing. So I think there just needs to be, I don't know that we want to table it or we want to approve and we'll bring it back at Finance Committee once those conversations are had. I don't.
That makes.
Because it would have to be finance to
Yeah.
determine the funding anyway.
Correct.
That's just a thought.
Give a motion to move into finance. We do that.
You're gonna refer
Just a-
to finance with it.
Need to be determined.
Okay,
Makes sense.
everyone heard that?
Yeah.
So, I think we need a motion to, Wild and, Runyon on the second. All in favor of, moving it to the finance committee is
With a source of funding to be determined for the transfer.
all in favor of that, motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. And Veteran Services has been very busy with a lot of other things, and I think that we'll move on to Department of Social Services. Welcome, ladies. The commissioner has been up in Lake George with Social Service Commissioners from throughout New York State for a second of a 3-day conference.
Yes, it's a state commissioners convening.
Great.
Yep.
Guns.
Glad that you were able to bring it to Warren County.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I have a couple of requests today The first one is to amend our budget to reflect the rent supplement program funds from New York State OTDA. This amount is $126,379. The allocated funds are intended for the provision of vital rental assistance to individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness or facing an imminent loss of housing. This is just our additional allocation to reflect, to update our budget.
Make the motion.
Trainer, okay, and Mr. Bruno on the second. Any other questions or comments for Nina? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of approval of request number one, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. On to request number two.
So request number 2 is to award the family shelter provider, the White House. The RFP bids was opened on May 15th, so I passed out an updated request form to reflect the shelter provider. So we're looking to move forward with the White House to complete a building assessment for renovations and modifications to include anticipated costs for the building number 11 for the proposed family shelter.
Motion to bring this to the floor. Supervisor Runyon. Supervisor Patchett on the second. Questions or comments for Nina? Can you give us kind of a time frame that this might all occur?
Yes, so we're looking at phasing it out. So we'll start with completing the building assessment. Once all of that's done, we'll bring it back to everyone to review the recommended changes. We're looking to serve about 3 to 4 families. Once that's done, with your approval, if everyone agrees, including Kevin Hajos and the Facilities Committee, we would look to submit the grant to OTDA for the HHAP, which is the Homeless Housing and Assistance Program. And I can talk about that a little bit, but each time I'll come back and it'll be in phases and we'll go through the approval that way.
Approve it yet or not? Okay, so we have the motion in a second. All in favor of approval of request number 2, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. And we do have a request number 3.
We do. So this request is to enact a local law authorizing a lease agreement for building number 11 for a period longer than 5 years. This does require a public hearing. So the reason why we need to do this, as part of the Homeless Housing Assistance Program, HHAP, for the potential project funding, the lease needs to be secured for the term of the Homeless Housing Assistance Corporation contract, which is 25 years, which is why we did the original resolution for the approval of the building for the proposed family shelter for up to 30 years. If that makes sense.
So it sounds like you've
Yes.
sat down with our attorney's office and
I
discussed
did.
all of this stuff.
Yes, and in order for us to submit the grant to the state, we need to have that lease in place. So we're starting this process and everything is contingent again on the approvals along the way. But in order to get the process to keep moving, we have to make sure that the lease agreement, we have permission to enter into a lease for up to 25 years.
Turn to my right, Ryan or John, do you have anything that you need to add to that?
No, I think we're okay.
Can I get a motion to bring it to the floor? Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Strainer on the second.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, please.
So we're gonna enter into a lease agreement for 25 years, and is there a dollar amount attached to that?
We haven't figured that out yet. So that'll be part of the process with the Wait House and working with Kevin and determining what that lease amount will be for. So that's part of the reason why we're phasing this project out, to make sure that we can come up with those amounts along the way.
Who, do we own building number 11 or who?
The county owns
Okay,
it,
so it's up to us to determine how much essentially.
right?
So there's no danger here, really.
No, the county will lease the building to the provider, which is the Wait House. And then the Wait House will become the leasee of the building, but also the provider of the shelter services, as well as the applicant for the grant.
Years ago, it housed the WIC department. It housed, long time ago, the Community Action Agency down in Glens Falls, and I think a couple of others.
So detention,
Yeah.
Code Blue.
Right, yeah.
Mhm.
Also used to house the Commissioner of Human Services.
I have no further questions.
Well, my question is, the reason that you need the 30 years is so that you're eligible for the grant application, right?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
And Nina, you said it's 4 families?
Uh,
So I'm just curious about the need and for the duration of these families, how long before they get placed somewhere else?
Well, the need well exceeds 4 families. However, our goal is to start small, be successful, and transition people into the community a lot faster than where we're experiencing longer stays in motels. So we'd like to get them right into the shelter, link them with community services, provide case management on site, get them into permanent housing, and transition them to community services from there. We really don't want to build a large program and not be successful. So we're just really trying to start small. And 3 to 4 families is really an estimate. So as we go through the building project, and doing the assessment and partnering with OTDA and contractors, we can really start deciding where and what we can do with the funding. That grant, the RFP for the grant just was released, and I believe the applications can start being submitted June 17th, somewhere around there.
Thank you.
If I could just add, it's been my experience, that once you exceed a certain number of beds, you're required to also have, 24/7 staffing, which, I mean, would blow up this particular project because the county wouldn't receive the type of funding nor have the resources in order to sustain that. So, that's why, a manageable project like this, I think is best for Warren County.
Well, and just to clarify, we're looking at the Wait House, who's very experienced in providing these services, to be the provider for the shelter. So they would be doing that, and there would be some 24-hour supervision.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, is this state funding or federal funding? And the reason why I ask is we had a discussion about Medicaid cuts.
Mhm. So this is state funding, and the funding has already been secured in the budget, in the state budget. That was just
And-
released.
And that budget is going to be included for the next 25 years?
Mhm. The funding would be secured for the life of the grant,
Okay.
the contract.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Any additional questions for Nina? Call the question. All in favor of approval of request number 3, say aye. Any opposed? So moved. You've got a couple of discussion items. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
for Preparing a really that monthly report and activities report, which was emailed to all members of the board prior to the board meetings. No referrals or pending items. Can we do a quick finance report?
At the time that the agenda was due,
Okay.
the reports were not available. That's
Okay,
why you don't
fine.
have them.
Okay.
The only thing that we do have is the overtime report. Not really much to say there. We're under last year. We're doing well there.
Good.
People are taking advantage of comp time, which is saving on overtime, so.
It was kind of a crazy month, so. Any other questions or comments?
No, I would just say, I know everybody's worried about budget, the federal changes, state changes. We're keeping an eye on things. If there's anything that we're concerned about, we'll share it with you. But until decisions are made, we really don't know the implications. And we're really governed by those regulations that come from the federal government. They come to drop down to the state, and then the state gives the local counties, specifically the Department of Social Services, how we need to operate in our budget. So I'm sure we'll have more conversations during budget time about anything that comes down.
And as we've all heard, all of the departments impacted potentially, are going through the county administrator's office, the chairman's office, and Don Lehman is getting stuff out to us, as well as Amanda's office too, so. Use those people for your communications.
Yep.
Sharing. Nothing else to be said. Ask for a motion to adjourn. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.